There's been a lot of great sports to come out of the Wii Sports series, but not all of them are the same in terms of quality. And today I'm going to be ranking every sport from worst to best, based on hard facts, evidence, nostalgia, and extreme personal biases. I would rank the games themselves, but I feel like it's pretty clear what the order is. Resort on top, then the original, Switch Sports, and Club on the bottom. That's just how it is. However, ranking the sports themselves is a much trickier endeavor, and it's actually pretty tough to try and decide which ones are better than others. I went back and forth on considering each different version of the same sport as its own unique sport, but ultimately decided that there are enough differences to rank them individually. Which means yes, I will be ranking 4 different versions of bowling and golf. And be warned, I have no idea how spicy my opinions will be. It's very possible that I'll rank your favorite sport way too low, so be prepared for that. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into the list. Boxing in Wii Sports Club is easily the worst sport in the entire series. Not only is it extremely unfun to play, feeling stiff, awkward, and boring, but it also somehow managed to totally mess up this sport when it was already done perfectly in the original. The idea of bringing back the classic 5 sports in HD is already pretty uninspired, but it's even worse when the new versions are actively worse than the old ones. My guess is the development team was rushed to finish boxing, as it was the last sport to be added alongside baseball. All of the life, momentum, and energy of boxing is nowhere to be found here, leaving an empty shell of a sport that's a chore to play. Also, they got rid of the pizza slices on the health bar, so what's even the point anymore? Wii Sports Club's version of golf suffers from forced gamepad integration. You have to set the gamepad on the floor in front of you where you can see the golf ball on the ground, which is cool for about 2 minutes and then gets annoying. The power bar is also only displayed on the gamepad, meaning you have to awkwardly look between the TV and the floor. It's the perfect example of the Wii U at its worst, overcomplicating a simple concept and making it less fun in the process. There are also replays after every swing for some reason, the visuals look bland, and the brand new lake courses are pretty boring. Once again, a worse version of the original. It may be a little harsh to put soccer this low, as I used to think it was one of my favorites. But after a year and a half to really think about it, I feel like this sport doesn't fit into the series overall and feels super clunky to actually play. I've been wanting soccer for a long time, but this isn't really what I imagined. I understand that it's a difficult sport to translate to the simple gameplay style of Wii Sports, but man, the controls feel so weird. Most of it is controlled with buttons, and you move way too slowly. I feel like the player speed was designed for the smaller field, because on the full-sized one it takes a ridiculous amount of time to move around. The brief high points of scoring a goal or actually working together with your teammates can't stop the majority of the playtime from feeling like a waste of time. I've played this sport for way too many hours, and I never really felt like I was actually having very much fun. Plus it has a very weak side mode that was probably made just so they could bundle the game with a leg strap. I actually don't dislike canoeing as much as I used to, but it's still not great. It takes a while to get a handle on the controls, and even once you finally do, it never feels very fun for me. Racing around the lake is pretty slow paced, and overall this is easily the sport I've played the least of from this game. The free practice mode where you can explore the lake and collect ducklings is cool, but this one really does feel like a filler sport. Maybe it would be more interesting if you were canoeing down a river instead of just going in circles. Chambara is another sport from Switch Sports that has just gone lower and lower for me as time has gone on. Having different sword types to choose from is really awesome, and I love the special moves. But this sport just feels really stiff and unnatural to me, and has the most lag when playing online in my experience. There is some strategy involved, but a lot of the time it feels like random luck. Not being able to block after getting blocked also makes it way too simple, and removes a lot of the fun that the original had. And like everything else in Switch Sports, there are no side modes at all, which is a huge wasted opportunity. You're supposed to find value in the online matches, but I think I'd rather play against CPUs and slowly rank up like in the older games as opposed to just mindlessly playing against online players endlessly. The Joy-Cons probably just aren't precise enough to make this sport feel as smooth as it used to. Baseball in Wii Sports Club is a pretty solid version of this sport with a few problems. Maybe it's just me, but I always have to keep recentering my Wii mode, which is strange as that was never an issue I had in the original. Pitching is now done on the gamepad by pointing it up at the screen, which is cool, but it feels strange to throw a pitch by just clicking a button. And you can also now control whether or not your outfielders will catch the ball, which is obviously super useful, but kind of takes away the charm of watching with anticipation to see if they'll drop it or not. Whenever I play this sport, I just want to play the one from the first game, and it's a good example of how pointless Wii Sports Club is as a whole. Similar to soccer, I've been wanting volleyball for a while, and this is a pretty decent attempt to bring this sport into the series. The bump, set, spike loop of volleyball is perfect for motion controls, and it does feel pretty satisfying to pull off successfully. But once again, it feels a little too stiff, a problem seen throughout Switch sports. Maybe it's the slow speed of the ball or the awkward way you briefly get control of your character at specific points, but the flow of the gameplay feels a little weak to me. I would have liked a mode where you control both of your teammates, as it doesn't feel great watching the other person on your team stand motionless as the ball goes right past them. I actually do enjoy playing volleyball though. The main reason it's this low is because of the lack of any real side modes or training to flesh out the gameplay. The over-reliance on online play really hurts the potential of this one. I love the idea of power cruising, but actually playing it is never quite as fun as I wish it was. The controls get crazy and out of sync really fast, and you have to be extremely careful and steady to keep control. It's satisfying to learn how to control your jet ski, but it doesn't feel as good as it probably should. But the slalom courses are pretty fun to race through, and the free cruising is a great side mode. Anything that lets me explore Woohoo Island is amazing. This sport doesn't have any major flaws, but it also doesn't stick out to me as doing anything super well either. Just kind of your standard Wii sport that often gets forgotten.
Good birdie!
The main reason why the original version of golf is so low is because it's simply been improved so much in future games. There's only 9 holes, and the biggest problem, you can't reset your golf club before swinging. That means that once the motion controls get messed up, it's really hard to get everything back to normal. Whenever I play this sport, I instinctively spam B before swinging to reset my club, and it feels really strange to not have that feature. These courses come back in every future version of golf, so there's really no reason to go back and play the original besides listening to the relaxing music. I weirdly enjoy badminton more than I probably should. The gameplay loop feels super quick and snappy, and once you understand what the basic rules are, it becomes a really engaging push and pull between opponents. Trying to lure the other player to one corner and using drop shots effectively is really fun, but it does feel kind of stiff as well. I get that there should be a punishment for messing up the timing of your hit, but falling over dramatically and not getting up for a few seconds is just plain annoying. And of course there are no substantial side modes of any kind, so you're expected to just keep playing the same match online over and over again. Next up, there's Wii Sports Club's version of tennis. Mechanically speaking, this is probably stronger than the original, but it lost almost all of its personality in the process. The visuals are bland and the announcer sounds bored. It's decently fun to play and is a pretty solid version of tennis overall, but I can't really put it any higher due to it feeling so repetitive and safe. I don't have much else to say, which is the main problem with Club. It's just the same thing done over again but slightly worse. Frisbee Dog is very charming due to how energetic this fake little dog is, and trying for a high score is a lot of fun. I also love the setting of this one. The Sugar Sand Beach is such a nice location to spend time in. Frisbee Dog is simple but pretty replayable, but Frisbee Golf has always seemed pretty uninteresting to me. It's just the same courses as in golf, but now you're using a frisbee instead, which is less fun for me personally. It's fun how easy it is to get a hole-in-one, but I'd rather just play golf. The dog is what really makes this sport so memorable. Golf in Switch Sports is a good version of the sport, but it does just enough things wrong to annoy me a bit. The visual facelift the courses got is pretty impressive, although I do feel like everything looks a bit more plasticky and less natural now. Plus they erased Woohoo Island from existence, which is not cool. Holding and swinging a Joy-Con will never feel as good as a Wii remote, but the controls do work surprisingly well. I really wish they could have introduced some new courses, as having the exact same lineup as Resort feels pretty lame. Everyone golfing at the same time is great though, but there is usually an awkward wait period where you have to watch the last player struggle to putt. Wii Sports Club's version of bowling is pretty good, but it doesn't do anything to stand out. It doesn't feel like this should be the worst version of this sport, but all the other versions have more going for them. I honestly don't have much to say about it, as it's just an HD version of bowling that plays pretty much the same as it did in Resort. Online play is cool, but good luck finding any people who are still playing Wii Sports Club. The version of tennis from Switch Sports should probably be the best one, but something about it just feels off to me. Maybe it's just because I'm bad, which is very likely, but this sport can sometimes feel more frustrating than fun. The Joy-Cons don't feel as good to use as a Wii remote does, but the different styles of courts that change the way the ball bounces are a really good idea, and I love the visual design of the environment surrounding the court. But since it's a part of Switch Sports, I feel pretty mixed on it overall due to how the gameplay is implemented with the online play and point system. Plus the side modes have disappeared as well. I have pretty mixed feelings about bowling in Nintendo Switch Sports. On one hand, this is the most creative version of bowling in the whole series, with obstacle courses that really push the limits of what's possible in this sport. But I really don't like the way the online matches are set up, as you spend so much time just mindlessly watching all the other players finish. I've played so much of this sport online, and I've probably spent a few hours of my life just watching the bottom players slowly and carefully line up their shot only to throw it in the gutter. I think I just prefer bowling on my own when there isn't so much wasted time in between throws. But this is still a really great evolution of the core bowling gameplay, although it doesn't really feel like classic Wii Sports since you can't throw the ball behind you and scare the crowd anymore. I've always had a soft spot for wakeboarding, as simple as it is. It's just such an addicting gameplay loop, and perfecting it is really fun. Zooming around on the waters outside Woohoo Island makes for great visuals, and landing giant jumps is really satisfying. Most people would probably put this one lower, but whenever I play it I always have a blast, despite how straightforward it is. The announcer shouting compliments at you will never get old. The original version of bowling has this special charm and unique atmosphere that has never been fully recaptured, and just for that I think it's worth revisiting every now and then. This sport alone is probably the most iconic one from the whole series thanks to the cultural impact it had in 2007. There are probably a few retirement homes that are still playing this sport, and honestly that sounds great to me. I know I'll still be playing this when I'm 85. While I think there's one other version of bowling that's stronger, the original will always hold a special place in my heart. Cycling is a great game of risk and reward, as you pedal around the island trying to manage your stamina levels and draft behind other racers. The dynamic music is some of the best in the series, and I love the multi-day races where you slowly climb up the ranks. There's nothing quite like finally making it all the way to first place and pushing for that final stretch to the finish line. There are plenty of courses to play on, giving you a really nice tour of the island and highlighting its best areas. Cycling feels like an event the whole island comes out to support, and I love its energy and atmosphere. Table tennis is the tennis replacement in Wii Sports Resort, and honestly I think it was a smart move. The smaller scale of this sport works a lot better with motion controls, and the precision offered by the Wii Motion Plus makes controlling this one feel really great. The quick back and forth is addicting, and the audio design is terrific as well. The atmosphere of playing an intense game of table tennis outside the hotel pool is so great, and it fits the tropical vacation theme perfectly. Matches with high-level opponents get surprisingly difficult, and I still have yet to beat Lucia, despite coming really close a few times. This is a great example of how Wii Sports' simple gameplay can still be really effective and fun. Archery has always been a personal favorite of mine. I've replayed this sport more times than I can count, and chasing that perfect score is so much fun. It's the perfect mix of giving you just enough control to aim where you want to, while still offering a challenge. Hitting a bullseye has got to be one of the most satisfying feelings in the whole series, and adjusting your shot for distance and wind makes you feel like a pro. I will fully admit that this one is my personal bias showing, but I just love playing archery. Baseball is addictingly unfair and hilarious, and so much fun to play. The movements of the bat are surprisingly accurate for not having the Wii Motion Plus, and finally getting that crack of the bat where you hit the ball exactly where you want to feels so good. I used to really not like this sport because of the randomness of Mii's dropping the ball or missing a catch, but I finally embraced the chaos. And yes, I may have thrown out my arm more than once trying to pitch the fastest ball imaginable, but it sure beats clicking a button. Even when I get totally screwed over in this sport, I'm still having fun somehow. I really hope baseball comes back in the next entry, if there even will be a next entry. The original version of tennis is very simple, but that's what I love about it. Sometimes I don't need super deep gameplay mechanics and just want to swing the remote around and feel cool, which is exactly what tennis does. Making good use of your front and back players makes for a really enjoyable experience once you get it down, and higher level opponents bring the intensity way up. I genuinely enjoy this version of tennis more than the versions from Club or Switch Sports, even though those ones are more advanced and complex. The sound effects of swinging your racket, hitting the ball, and diving over the ground are amazingly nostalgic.
Great shot!
Wii Sports Resort's version of golf is easily the definitive one, as it has the best controls, visuals, and atmosphere. This sport offers such a relaxing experience, and taking the time to plan out your shot is really rewarding. The sounds of the natural world around you, like the leaves rustling in the wind or waves crashing on the beach, are so great, and I feel like those vibes were lost in the newer versions of golf. The Wii Motion Plus offers the most precise swings, and there isn't the annoying gamepad gimmick from Club. Golf is a staple of the Wii Sports series, and this is still the best way to play this sport.
Nice one!
Just like golf, Resort also has the best version of bowling in my opinion. There's the better controls of the Wii Motion Plus combined with the Wii era charm that Nintendo has struggled to replicate. As much as I love the original bowling's atmosphere, the slightly more classy feel of the bowling alley on Woohoo Island is even better. Bowling is probably the most consistent sport in the series in terms of quality, and I think this is the best version of one of the best sports. I don't like bowling quite as much as other people seem to, as I often see bowling at the #1 spot, but I can't deny just how great this sport is. Basketball sounds like it wouldn't fit into the series very well, but somehow they managed to pull it off perfectly. The motion of shooting the ball through the air is so satisfying, and pickup games are full of tense moments and dramatic comebacks. Dribbling and passing feel so instant and intentional, and deciding whether or not to go for a 3 or take a safe shot closer is an endlessly fun loop. The 3-point contest is great as well, but most of my time is spent climbing the ranks in pickup games. Time just flies when I'm playing this sport. It's incredibly engaging and keeps you thinking the whole time. It's tough to imagine basketball ever being done better than this. Boxing blows me away every time I go back to it. It's surprisingly brutal. Beating up on CPU Miis feels downright violent at times, as they go flying backwards when you knock them out. There's this incredible mechanic where if you dodge a punch at the right time, time slows down and the sound cuts out, letting you strike back extra hard. This is genuinely one of the most fun things to do in any Nintendo game, and I love pulling it off. Then you've got the amazing training modes where Matt personally teaches you everything you need to know to succeed, before facing off against you himself as the final challenge. The sound of the crowd roaring with every landed punch, and the intensity of trying to beat your opponent before you get knocked out yourself is some truly peak Wii Sports gameplay. Air Sports has some of the most grand and impressive gameplay out of any sport, with skydiving having you launch out of a plane high above the island and link up with other divers as you plummet towards the ground. But the real star of the show is Island Flyover, which is the glue that brings the entire game together. Woohoo Island is the location of all of the sports in Wii Sports Resort, but it's Island Flyover that lets you go out and explore this fantastic location, giving you extra context for where each sport takes place. There are eye points that give you so much interesting world building about the island, and makes it feel like a real place. I've spent the most time out of any sport or mode in Wii Sports flying around in Island Flyover, and it's the sole reason why Woohoo Island is my favorite video game location of all time. I only wish there wasn't a time limit so I could spend hours flying through the sky. But as fantastic as Air Sports is, there's one more sport that I think is slightly stronger overall. Swordplay is similar to boxing, but with even stronger side modes. Not only are there these intense duels in front of a crowd, but there's also a single-player showdown mode where you travel across the island taking out waves of enemies along the way. The most epic I ever felt in my childhood was when I was taking out hordes of Miis all by myself, slicing through every opponent that dared challenge me. And there's also a third side mode where you have to slice objects that fall in front of you before your opponent does, which is incredibly fun as well. Swordplay is the perfect use of the Wii Motion Plus, highlighting how impressive one-to-one motion can be. And it also shows how important good side modes are, packing what feels like 3 separate sports into one terrific package. This is what Wii Sports is all about, and I think it's the single best sport out of the entire series. And that's my ranking of every sport from the Wii Sports series. It was pretty hard to decide on all of these rankings, and I'm sure I'll change my mind on plenty of placements in the future. In some ways, it's kind of sad to look back at the franchise as a whole like this, as the 2 most recent games feel like they're just trying to capture what made the first 2 so amazing, and failing to do so. But every time I go back and play the originals, it's clear why this series is so important to so many of us, as those games are truly something special. I really hope Nintendo is able to find a fresh way to bring back the series in a way that feels more genuine, and that also involves Woohoo Island. Anyways, I'd love to hear what your favorite sports are, as well as which of my rankings you disagree with. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone too badly. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.